Hi, I want you to think back for a minute with me to the time when you were in high school. Friday nights were at the beginning of the school year where there was so much excitement, not only to go to the football games, but to watch them or even to play in them. For most of us, that's what it represented, was the ability to sit and watch and have a good time. But for the student athletes, it really meant a great deal of hard work and preparation. In a study by Nicholas Holt, he stated that it takes about 10,000 hours over the 4 years of football to play in the games. And that's a heck of a lot of effort that goes into sports. And so what I'm going to talk about today is that the hard work in sports outweighs the negative effects. So there are things that are really taught well through high school sports, and that is punctuality, teamwork, and hard work. Um, and so those are the three things that we're really going to discuss today. Um, so me being, I guess I'll give you my background a little bit. I played football and basketball in high school. I worked really hard at my school. Both of those things were really year-round programs, and so there was a lot of hard work and dedication that was involved in making sure that you were there. Um, and so to talk kind of there's some negative aspects that come with especially football. There's the head and neck injuries. There's the deviance, I guess, the those kind of things. And my point today is to talk about how the good ways that outweighs that bad. For me, one of the only reasons I ever went to college was because of my football coaches and the people that encouraged me and helped me to get good grades and pushed me to be better at sports. Um, and that's really that kind of thing transfers over to jobs and to your work. Um, one example is um, for college applications. Colleges look at things like extracurricular activities, and especially one of the big ones is sports. When it comes to the Naval Academy and the other military academies, which are extremely hard to get into, that's one of the major factors that are involved in um, the decision process is the fact that they played sports of any level, because they do teach those specific things that you need that translate over to job experience. Um, so for me, the first thing we're talking about really is work ethic. Just like that study said before, there's an immense amount of time that goes into any sport that we play, especially in high school, where we have to juggle not only practices and games and all that kind of stuff, but as well we have to handle schoolwork and going to class and making sure that we're taking care of all of our business outside of class. And this is the same kind of work ethic that goes into a job. When we teach our youth that working is important and working leads to success, it helps them to build a foundation to make sure that they will succeed in their jobs in college and in other aspects of life that will always be important to them. It instills that work ethic, the ability to help us to do better about our with our lives. It helps us. It pushes us to have further education. Helps us to go to college. Not only because it helps with student athletes in college, you have the ability to gain scholarships and other things like that, but as well it helps students have a work ethic that leads them to want to go to college, leads them to want to do better in life. And that's my own experience. I had a coach in high school that I that always discussed how we all needed to go to college and make sure that we got a good education, so that we didn't end up in a place that we didn't want to. Um, he'd seen things like that with his sons, and he made sure that he taught us good lessons to make sure that we would go to college, make sure that we would get good jobs. Um, so the second thing we're going to talk about is teamwork. Life involves other people. As crazy as that sounds, we will always be working with other people. And high school sports is a great opportunity for you to learn how to work with other people, especially in something like football. 11 men working as one is a really hard concept to grasp, especially in the beginning. But the more you grow with those people, you learn to work with them. You learn their strengths, you learn their weaknesses, and you learn to be able to make the best out of those situations, because you're not always going to get along with people. Then when you play high school sports, it teaches you how to get along with people that you might not get along with, as well as to succeed together. That was another thing that my coach always instilled in us, was the fact that we were brothers and that we needed to work together to be as good as we possibly could be. because if we didn't work as a team, we weren't good enough, um, especially as individuals, especially in football. And so when that translates directly into jobs in the school, we all work in groups all the time here up on campus, um, which may not always be the most pleasant experience. But when we make sure that we are working together as a team, that we can do the best that we can. This also translates to jobs because we will be doing the same thing in work. Especially, I've been a manager at different jobs, and it's always teamwork that it comes down to. If we can work as a team, the job is always better and always is more beneficial. The last thing I want to talk about um, is building of character, especially things like punctuality. Um, when as a football player, one of the biggest things we had to do was be honest and take responsibility for our actions, whether it be missing a block, dropping a pass, or anything to that extent. When when we made a mistake like that, we had to live up to our mistakes, and that helps to build character in young men. That's something that, especially as a teenager, that I didn't necessarily always want to do, as I didn't want to be um, the the good kid. I didn't want to live up to my mistakes. But that's something that high school sports really taught me, was that the only way to really grow is to accept responsibility. And so really my character and the things that I've grown to today have really come from high school sports. I've seen the effects because the only reason I'm here, the only reason I go to school and work at it is because I played high school sports. Um, Either it be through the coaches or it be through the work ethic of the character it taught me. High school sports have led me to to where I'm at today. And I think really a good example of this is the example of Chad Lewis. I don't know if any of you know who he was, but he was a tight end who played for BYU. And he now actually works as an ambassador for the NFL in different countries. He served a mission in China, and so he's done a lot of work there. And he talks about how football is such a great example of how he surrounded himself with greatness. In his book is how he talks about it. Is he found men that taught him the skills that were necessary for him to be successful in life. And so really, when we start talking about things like head and neck injuries, yes, they're likely and they happen. They're tragic accidents. But in my opinion, there are more cases where playing high school sports and learning these skills are more important than the negative chances that we have of having those injuries. Um, in a study by Bruce Smith, he talks about how um, high school athletes often are looked at as deviant. Um, but in his study, he actually found that most high school students perform better in classes, are more likely to go to college, and as well make more money in their lifespan of working than the average person who doesn't play sports. And so for me, high school sports has always been something that's very important that we need to learn, are important, and to know that we um, learn firstly to be safe, but learn to build character and to build young men as opposed to just letting the world crumble and fall. So for me, high school sports will always and has always been important. Thank you.